reprieve, but this week winter has really struck with a vengeance, and all week long we've been tracking a very powerful and a very dangerous storm system that has left a large swath of ice and snow. And rather hard hit the last couple of days has been the southern plain states, and we have some pictures to show you from Oklahoma. Indeed, children are having a great time playing in the snow in Oklahoma City. Up to 6 inches of snow has fallen in some areas. Heavy snowfall, though, shut down Highway 40 for about 30 minutes yesterday afternoon. And scattered snow flurries are still coming down this morning, but eventually partly cloudy skies are expected by later this afternoon. So it does look as if weather conditions should be improving somewhat for the southern plain states later on today. But for much of us, though, we still have to deal with a lot of ice and snow. And we've got a very treacherous time for that morning commute this morning. Now, our radar picture from the upper Midwest showing us basically snow. It is still snowing this morning across most of Missouri, Columbia, Jefferson City, on into St. Louis. In fact, around St. Louis, we've had moderate to occasionally heavy bursts of snow. Snowing, too, for Chicago up through South Bend, Green Bay, Madison, Milwaukee. More snows, too, across the upper Ohio Valley. And right now, it's snowing around Pittsburgh and around the Allegheny Airport. Meanwhile, freezing rain, too, has been a big problem. We've had widespread freezing rain this morning across West Virginia and likewise stretching down towards Virginia. Now, for today, more ice and more snow likely. At least the snow's again tapering off for Oklahoma and Kansas, but still more snow likely from Missouri up towards the Ohio Valley and eventually the Northeast, too. No snow currently for Boston or for New York City, but we are expecting some wintry conditions to be moving in later this afternoon. I think our biggest concern, though, is the ice. Right now, widespread ice occurring around Roanoke and Richmond, Virginia, on into around the Danville and Lynchburg area and back towards the Greenbrier Valley of West Virginia. And also especially hard hit has been the Carolinas. We've had lots of reports of downed trees and power lines, primarily around Avery and back over towards around Yancey counties in western North Carolina. Some of the roads now are being covered by 3 to 5 inches worth of ice and snow. Now, there's a chance for more snowy conditions today. Heaviest snows will be found north of the track of the upper level low. So for St. Louis, around 6 inches of snow, 3 to 6 inches of snow likely for Chicago, and a band of heavier snows, too, lifting over towards the Northeast throughout the day today. Well, one area already seeing more than their fair share of snow has been St. Louis. And with me this morning on the phone is Mr. Mike Fitzpatrick. He is a technician with the Missouri State Department of Transportation in St. Louis. Good morning, Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Good morning.
Can you describe the latest weather conditions and how that's affecting the roadways?
Well, it's still snowing here, and there's roughly 6-7 inches of snow on the ground, and what we're doing is trying to concentrate on the major routes, and a lot of it is blowing back and covering over as quick as we plow it. But our crews have been out, and they will be on around the clock until we get the roads open. But most of our roads are snow covered and packed, especially the supplementary and secondary roads.
What official advice would you recommend for travelers around Missouri?
Well, if you have to be out in it, I would suggest you leave plenty early. The interstates would be in the best conditions of any of our routes, and really, if you don't have to be out, I would suggest that you stay out and give us a chance to do our job. Okay, well, thanks a lot, Mr. Fitzpatrick. We appreciate that advice. All right, let's check out the current weather situation this morning. A very complex and a very complicated weather pattern. In fact, it's a multifaceted storm system because besides the storm across the south producing the ice and the snow, it's also been producing some very powerful thunderstorms. Nasty weather tore across the deep south yesterday and early this morning. We also had reports of some hail with some of these thunderstorms. And we've got some pictures to show you of those powerful thunderstorms that raked across Georgia yesterday. Now, the pictures will show us the unstable air with moisture from the Gulf of Mexico triggering potentially severe weather across the south. Storms were making their way through Georgia and Florida this morning. And overnight, there were reports of upwards to 2 inches of rain for some locales. Pea-sized hail came down, though, yesterday for LaGrange in west central Georgia. And there were also several reports of quarter-size hail. So we have really had some nasty weather conditions and still that chance for more violent thunderstorms today. Here's our main focal point today: southern Georgia, Carolina coastal section, and down towards Florida. Now, keep in mind that these thunderstorms have the capability of spawning large hail, intense heavy downpours, very gusty winds, and that possibility of tornadoes.
Hence, a tornado watch continues for the Florida Panhandle through later this morning. And this morning, again, very heavy downpours coming in through southern Georgia. Many of these thunderstorms dropping rain at the rate of 1 to 2 inches of rain an hour. And that squall line extends down towards the Florida Panhandle, now working its way across the Big Bend area of Florida. So again, a very busy weather pattern today throughout the east. Threats for more heavy rain and severe weather, and also more ice and snow. We'll check out where this menacing storm system might be heading. Let's go back to the studios. We'll check out the forecast with Bob Stokes.
Yeah, we're right here, Cheryl. Thanks. As the eastern half of the country prepares to grip with Arctic cold, warmer weather is adding to a rough situation in the west. Snowmelt continues to pump up the Feather River in central California long after the heavy rains have ended. The rising water is forcing more people to evacuate. There is also the problem of hazardous materials with cracked diesel in propane tanks leaking into the river. That's going to be a mess to clean up. Well, let's take a look and see what's happening in the west right now. And you can see high pressure is the dominant feature, dry weather, but the wet weather of recent weeks is still plaguing them, as you see. But the snow's coming down in Chicago and in St. Louis, as Cheryl was mentioning. Indianapolis, some 4 to 7 inches of snow could accumulate by the next 12 hours. And you can see the frozen precipitation, the icy weather over the eastern part of Kentucky, London, Kentucky, stretching into Asheville, North Carolina, the Biltmore Estate, which the Vanderbilts used to own, for example, a tour spot, seeing some snowfall.